Ford is one of the most reputable automakers in the world, and its pickup truck sales are unmatched in their class. Ford flexes its muscles in one particular area, though: engines. Nothing compares to the American company's savage new engine that destroys rival producers despite the several engines it produced that auto aficionados fondly recall. What is the brand new engine and why is it so effective? Join us as we discuss Ford's brand new engine, which has shocked the whole auto industry. Any vehicle's engine is its beating heart, because without it, the car cannot even move a fraction of an inch. Because a car's engine could make the difference between a truly good model and a mediocre one, automakers pay great attention to it. It's fascinating how things get started. For instance, Ford, one of the brands that is most prevalent in Americans' lives, began in a kitchen. Miss Clara Ford owned the kitchen in her apartment on 58 Bagley Avenue, which is close to downtown Detroit. While her husband, the illustrious Henry Ford, handled the ignition and spun the flywheel, Clara injected a single or double drip of petrol into the intake valve. When the straightforward hand-built engine flickered to life over the sink, Ford's oldest ambition came true, and his spectacular automotive career was launched. Simple black iron tubing that had been internally drilled and sharpened to take a piston with a bore diameter of about 1 inch served as the cylinder. The flywheel starting handle was connected by a straightforward rod and crank setup. The final component came from standard hardware and plumbing supply stores. The engine has been recreated by generations of home craftsmen as a building project, and if you want to try it yourself, plans are accessible online. Ford, however, has decided not to publish the plans for the terrifying Godzilla engine online. It is rare for a major OE manufacturer to release an entirely new V8 engine, much less one that drives performance fanatics insane. But the Ford Motor Company did just that when it unveiled the brand new Godzilla 7.3-liter gasoline V8. The powerful V8 engine, designed for Super Duty vehicles, generates the best-in-class torque of 475 foot-pounds at 4,000 revolutions per minute and 430 horsepower at 5,500 revolutions per minute. The most intriguing aspect of this release was how Ford essentially abandoned the modular or Coyote platform it had been working on for more than 2 decades in favor of a cabin block design with push rods and wedge-style heads. The most current Ford gasoline-powered pushrod V8 was a 302 with 210 horsepower that was found in the 2001 Explorer. In fact, the company hasn't made a pushrod V8 engine for exactly 20 years. The 445 cubic inch new pushrod engine is not intended for the 2021 Mustang, but it is available as a crate engine for swaps or custom builds with Ford Performance, and the aftermarket is starting to respond with performance accessories. The Godzilla engine, a heavy-duty engine that is potent, enduring, and reasonably priced to manufacture and operate, was initially conceived as an option for the F-250 and as a Super Duty version, but the same characteristics that make it a potent truck engine also thrill hot rod enthusiasts. In one instance, the engine produced nearly 700 horsepower when operated normally and 1,450 horsepower when operated with a supercharger. Ford actually made an effort to create something that could be thrown into a pickup truck or heavy-duty truck, and it was successful. Homeowners who own motors and dump trucks are additional groups that favor fencing the engine. Ford also aimed towards simple maintenance and cheap expense. Ford also applied what it had learned about engine design to this power plant. It was created by the same designer who worked on the Shelby GT350's 5.2 and 5-liter intake boards. It's a brand new, uncompromised, and made to be extremely durable. The pistons and rings are an evolution of the EcoBoost design, while the main block is made of cast iron with 4 cross bolts. But why are hot rodders raving about the Godzilla engine? Let's start with the block boring stroke, which measures 4.22 inches by 3.976 inches and has a displacement of 445 cubic inches, or 7.3 liters. Large bores were chosen by the designers because they have a good performance potential. Large bores improve efficiency by reducing piston speed relative to the stroke speed during cruising modes. They are also ideal for cylinder head flow. Of course, the engine's creator also engineered it such that it could be repaired and rebuilt in the future. The iron block therefore made the most sense. With a stroker crank, you might achieve approximately 500 cubic inches by going at 0.03 inches above. The factory crank is a sturdy piece of forged steel that is kept together by the 2 side bolts per main cap of the deep-skirted block. The rod journals are 2.86 inches long, while the main journal is 2.66 inches long, same as the 6.2-liter Ford V8. Ford Modular and Coyote engines both share the back of the crank, which has 8 bolts at the back of the block. The top of the deck surface has a gentle cut of cool and flow, and the deck height is 9.65 inches. Swing cast pistons and powdered metal cracked cap connecting rods are used in the manufacture. However, steel and aluminum are other options. Ford made an innovative attempt to precisely adjust oil pressure to a desired pressure by employing a change-driven variable displacement oil pump as a performance engine. Because the Godzilla engine employs a variable displacement oil pump, it effectively has the ability to regulate pressure in response to driver input. Nonetheless, minimal pressure is required when idle. To safeguard the engine, the pressure can be raised at higher speeds or loads. Certain models can come with Super Duty and Medium Duty oil coolers mounted on the side of the block, and the 8-quart oil pan is deep enough and made of cast aluminum. To remove the coolers, some suppliers will sell you block-off plates. If you're considering performing some swaps, you'll need to address the topic of induction, which is often in the news. The OEM truck engine uses a composite intake manifold with a front-mounted, inverted 18mm throttle body. You'll discover that the TB's placement is not suitable for swaps into the majority of autos because hood clearance becomes a significant problem. Don't worry though, our aftermarket intakes are on the way. The dry valley on the 7.3-liter Godzilla keeps the intake colder and lessens the likelihood of an oil spill. Direct injection is not currently used, be incorporated in the future if necessary. All of the contemporary features Ford utilized are in the engine's aluminum cylinder heads. For max efficiency, a wedge-shaped combustion chamber with spark plugs positioned in the piston dish center. This enables a large compression ratio, which results in improved economy and performance. Ford, however, also utilized piston cooling jets that pump oil to the backside of the pistons for cooling in order to prevent detonation under high load. The exhaust valve has a dimension of 1.66 inches, and the intake valve is 2.17 inches with an 8.8 degree angle and a 1.8 degree cant. With a large 60mm camber and 9 journals to reduce reflection, the cam lift is 13.6mm for the intake and 15.26mm for the exhaust. For the high valve lift while minimizing spring stress, the B-high valve springs are also exceptionally tall. The Godzilla engine also has a single phaser and hydraulic roller lifters with variable valve timing. Although the overlap is fixed, the cam can be quickly moved forward. This makes it possible to change the phasing for improved airflow at higher speeds as well as to reduce pumping loss at low engine speeds and throttle levels. This is a significant improvement over the 4.6-liter 2, 3, and 4-valve modular and dual overhead cam 5.0 Coyote engines. A normal 351 Windsor has a length of 24 inches, but the valve's cover top is 25.5 inches broad, which is about 2 inches wider. Since the Godzilla can be installed in practically any car with the V8, it's only a matter of time before we start seeing them in vintage Ford's late-model Mustangs and street rods. The Ford Predator V8, a high-performance supercharged V8 engine that was featured in the 2019 Ford Mustang GT500 and replaced the 5.2-liter Voodoo V8, will, however, be necessary to conclude the competition for the best engines ever created. The revised Ford Coyote V8, which offered superior performance and economy to its predecessors, served as the foundation for the Predator. With the original Ford 5-liter Coyote block, it uses an improved version of an existing improved version, but with stronger heads, pistons, crankshafts, and other parts made to tolerate high cylinder pressures. The Ford Predator V8 was created to be fitted in a range of Ford Mustangs with both manual and automatic transmissions. It has many components in common with other contemporary American performance engines, outperforming the 5.2-liter Voodoo V8 engine in the preceding GT500 by more than 134 horsepower. The naturally aspirated flat-plane Voodoo V8 in the GT350 has a cross-plane crank, whereas the 5.2-liter supercharged engine does not. This indicates that the firing order is set up around a hypothetical plane that bisects the engine rather than being dispersed in a line as in a regular V8. The end result is a significantly stronger crank that can handle more power and increase torque at a low and high RPM power delivery. The GT350 lacked the characteristic V8 rumbling and engine noise that we all fell in love with in the 1980s, which is also provided by the cross-plane crank. The solid block construction of the Predator V8 engine minimizes weight while boosting overall strength. In addition, the 5.2-liter engine's forged internals increase its durability compared to competing engines and enables it to manage greater horsepower and torque. The Predator's 2 overhead camshafts, which are lighter than a single overhead camshaft design, increase airflow through the cylinder heads. The new Ford V8 aluminum cylinder head aids in weight reduction and improved cooling performance. A specifically created intake manifold with 2 throttle bodies is also added for better performance. The Coyote engine is no longer naturally aspirated, which distinguishes it from earlier iterations. Indeed, the era of wholly naturally aspirated engines is over, due to the fact that even the Mustang now has a noisy supercharger. This may take away from the cross-plane crank V8's magnificent howl, but it takes more than that to make up for the excellent performance and a ton of horsepower and torque. How, therefore, did the engineers manage to rev the Voodoo V8 without blowing it up? They were able to safely increase the boost by lowering the compression rate for this engine from 12 to 1 to 9.5 to 1. By reducing the compression and utilizing the cross-plane crank, they are able to prevent detonation and cylinder failure caused by the cylinders being overpressurized. They can do much more to boost the engine now that they have the new cross-plane crank. At Eaton TVS R2650 supercharger, which produces 760 horsepower or more, is connected to these engines. Ford engineers have been working relentlessly for years to produce the most durable engines available, and the result is the Predator. In fact, they are constructed so well that it would be very difficult to destroy one when using it normally. Which of these engines interests you the most?